Hello everybody, Glass Half Dead, the official hand model, coming back to you again. It's been a long time since I've reviewed anything like this, I know. Anyway, here, I hope you enjoy my review of the new latest kill zone, the Sector Sanctoris. Here is the nitty gritty. Yes, you should buy this. Why? Because we now know that these go out of stock pretty quick, and ultimately, at the end of the day, this is good value for the terrain that you get, if you like the terrain that's in here. Also, I forgot to say during the main video that I'm a dirty YouTube shill. Please, my gosh, please like, subscribe, do whatever other sort of social media thing you're supposed to do that officially makes me a shill, before you get into this video. And now that I've said that, hello, I hope you enjoy my review. Here's my intro. Hello everybody. Glass Half Dead here, and as you can see, I've just got my Elites gear, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm going to be covering the book in a series of different videos. Other channels, for example, Glacial Geek and Guerrilla Miniatures, Guerrilla Wargaming, have already covered this in a really cool way, where they've just literally gone through the whole book, page by page, given everyone a nice HD shot of every page, so I don't need to do that. So, that's going away. So if you just want rules, I highly recommend that you check those channels out. However, I'm going to be going through them piece by piece and giving a lot more opinions than simple facts and figures. Which does leave us with Sector Sanctoris. Now, when we look at this, we see instantly we get the two big statues, which are cool, and looking at this board, this looks like the most sparse terrain we've had in a kill zone yet. I think a lot of people, as soon as they saw this, were, adamantly against it, I suppose? Repulsed. Who knows? Basically, what you get in here seems to be the scatter terrain, which I believe is that onwards, that you would get in Urban Conquest, or you would get in the Elites boxes. So you get that. This also seems to give you a sprue of ruins for Sector Imperialis, but you also get the two big statues that you get in, I think it's the Sector, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one that looks like a chapel or something. So that's the slightly bigger box of Sector Imperialis terrain. I was scared, I'm going to be honest. When I saw that, I think I agreed with everyone. This looks like the worst kill zone we've had yet. However, if we look at this map, which is the map that this is being played on, this one here, we believe that this indoor bit is actually indoors. And so, although you see on this map here, it does indeed look very sparse, there's actually a separation, and these walls count as walls. We don't know, but we're going to find out today, right now. Let's open this box. Minor production note while we're here. I've taken the polythene off. This is shiny. I believe until now they have all been matte. So obviously, whilst we were having the big gap in, delay in between Kill Team releases, Games Workshop was messing around with their production facilities. And yeah, okay, cool. So here we have the two halves of the big statues. For those of you that haven't seen these are just straight out of the big basilicum or whatever it's called for the Sector Imperialis. They just come as these sprues, so these are not different in any way. You haven't seen? Let's have a look at the sprue. So this is the back of the statues. As you can tell, they have a nice little bit of clockwork stuff. They are quite interesting. I've got to be honest, they are cool statues. And these are the fronts. We got Grim Reaper Skullboy here. We've got some lovely chipping and detailing you can do. And we've got a blokey with a face and a shield. Very cool. As you can tell, I'm adding some top-notch commentary to this. This also goes with that, as this is the feet, the feetses, and the sword. Lovely. Now, the rest of this... Okay, hold on. So... These are Sector Imperialis ruins. You can buy these separately. This is scatter terrain. This you can only get in Urban Conquest. Up until now, this is the first time you can get it without buying Urban Conquest. My belief is that in the Elites faction boxes, this is the terrain you get, just these two bits. I don't think you get the ruins, and I know you don't get the statues. So you just get this, which is this is all you get in Urban Conquest as well. For those of you that haven't seen, let's have a look, shall we? This is lovely stuff. Like, this is brilliant scatter terrain for any table. Just look at it. Oh, so thematic. Oh, love it. Brilliant, brilliant. And obviously it's all basically ready to go. You just clip it out, paint it. There's not really any assembly needed, to be honest. So let's see what we have in here. Rather unsurprisingly, we have a board and we have rules. What are we going to look at first? We're going to look at the board first, because we want to see what the rules are really saying, and we want to see if the walls on this actually end up having a red line, which would therefore indicate, much like Arena, you cannot measure through them for any reason. Okay, here is our board. Let's open it out. I've opened it the wrong way. Okay, apparently I'm going to look at this side first. Guys, this looks exactly like every other piece of Sector Imperialis board we've had. Although I will say, looks quite nice. I actually quite like the bits that don't have the roads. The roads are cool, they look thematic. However, if you like to place your terrain in a kind of thematic way, the roads kind of get in the way and kind of restrict the board. Whereas here you've got some, yeah, it's nice, that's all. And here we see the side that we're all interested in. We've got some hatches inside, and they are not equal, what's the word? Opposite, mirrored, as you see, because we've got these nice hexes. They're not hexes, that's just a word, squares. There are no red lines. There are no red lines, so perhaps this isn't actually a building, it's just meant to be a raised dais? I don't know. Purely theoretical at this point. Look, I know that I could just look at the rules now. This is fun. Let me have my fun. The other thing I would say, and maybe I'm wrong, but this side looks slightly different. Almost like it was printed at a slightly lower DPI or resolution or something. I don't know. I'm talking crap. Let's read the rules. First thing to note, guys. These now come in baggies instead of bags you have to rip open. This is already a big improvement. I'm a big fan. We have two things. I reckon these are instructions. Yes, they are. Well, those are boring. But, okay, fine. Instructions. Nice. Okay, what are we going to look at? Let's look at this. Let's see if we get any weird rules. It's an introduction. Okay. Right then. So I suppose one fun thing to note, actually, sorry for jumping through all of this so fast, is that obviously now we're getting elite units in all of these pictures. So we get the Custodes against the Scarab Occult Terminators. Scarab Occult Terminators against the Orcs. And then Blood Angel Terminators, obviously, against the Triarch Praetorians there. Okay, what do we got? What do we got? Okay, so something about a sewer channel. So I assume that this little bit of scatter terrain might be something you can interact with, similar to the grates. Yep, okay, that's the thing. That's just cover. Okay. A little implication here that maybe that particular scattered terrain has a rule to it as well. And that's it. Okay. So as we see here, this is all the terrain you get, by the way. Just to be clear, so that's what you can make with the ruins. That's your scattered terrain from Urban Conquest, as is that. And that is statues. Okay, what are we interested in? Tactics cards. It's going to be missions. It's going to be missions. Let's have a look. It's a good micron thickness of that baggie there, I would say. Good job, GW, on that. Okay, what have we got? So we've got the actual kill zone card itself. We've got 2 match play missions. We've got 2 narrative play missions. We are going to go over all of these. But first, the kill zone itself. It tells us these are the Imperial statues. That is the shrine floor, giving us an indication that maybe the shrine floor will be something. Oh, okay, shrine wall. That is telling us that is a wall. No red lines. I assume they're just going to say, hey, that's a wall, you can't shoot through it, as opposed to actually giving us, like they could have in this book, they could have just added in the Kill Team Arena page that says you can't shoot and measure through walls. But they haven't chosen to do that with this map. Fine. And then those are stairs. So, number 1, Shattered Shrine, no additional rule. That makes sense. 2, Deafening Proclamation. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for models that make an attack whilst they are within 6 inches of any Imperial statue. These bad boys here. I just realised that I had birds in the background of this entire audio. I apologise. What can I say? So that's actually kind of weird. You're subtracting 1 from your hit rolls if you're within 6 inches of a statue. So it's not like it's bolstering your courage, it's actually making you worse at hitting things, which sounds a bit odd, but there you go. Consecrated Aura. Roll a d6 whenever an Imperium model standing on the shrine floor, this, yes, shrine floor, good, loses a wound. On a roll of a 6, the model does not lose that wound. If it already has a similar ability, this rule has no effect. Cool. Desecrated Shrine. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of Imperium models whilst they are standing on the shrine floor. Oh gosh, okay. So, right, that's kind of a thing. Encroaching Battle, or battle, if you're that way inclined. At the beginning of each battle round after the first, roll a d6 for each model that is within 3 inches of the edge of the battlefield. On a roll of 1, that model suffers a mortal wound. That's interesting. Very thematic. The implication, of course, being that there's actually a huge battle taking place around the entirety of this, and we're just focusing on the small kill team action here. That's fun. I like that. And then finally, 6, Recovered Relic. In a campaign game, the player who cares about campaigns, the kill team campaign sucks. Anyway, I'll read it, I guess. In a campaign game, the player who wins the mission gains 1 material, otherwise there is no additional rule. Okay, now we actually have additional text at the bottom here. The shrine is surrounded by a steep wall that fighters must scramble up unless they use the stairs, and which makes drawing line of sight difficult. Any model that moves onto or over the shrine wall, which we've already covered is here, must end their move touching the shrine wall. Okay, cool. But with no part of their base covering the shrine wall. That makes sense. Models that can fly are not affected. In addition, if you draw line of sight across the shrine wall for a model's ranged attack, their target is considered to be obscured. In addition, if you are playing a mission in a Sector Sanctoris, all players can use any Sector Sanctoris tactics they have. Okay, cool. So how does that really affect us? Unless you're making a mad dash down the side, you're basically always obscured. Or, well, unless you're in the middle, I suppose. Okay, that's interesting. I like it. It's an interesting way of giving us a little rule there, of interacting with a flat 2D image. It does mean that scrambling up these is going to be, I mean, you know, that's basically your turn of movement unless you have fly. So yeah, okay. First up, match play mission, take the high ground. What's this map? Okay, so we're starting here and over there, 10 inches away from the centre. Okay, and well, terrain as you'd expect, I suppose. Okay, so you must use your Battleforge kill team. See the core manual. It only includes models with the faction keyword they chose. Each kill team can cost up to 125 points. I am not going to talk about the point levels at the moment. That's what the mission is. The battlefield, there's 2 of you. Yeah, okay. Cool. Resolve the scouting phase. Deployment is the deployment that you would expect, as is the battle length variable, battle length conditions. Victory conditions, here we go. If there is only one unbroken kill team on the battlefield at the end of the battle, that kill team's player wins. Huh. I don't like that. They removed that from one of the missions in the core rulebook, and that's no longer how it works in Arena. Okay, fine. That's the mission. If you break, you lose. There you go. Otherwise, whichever player has the most models wholly on the shrine floor at the end of the battle, other than shaken models, wins. If players are tied for most models wholly on the shrine floor, the tied players draw. Any other player loses. Or any other players lose. Okay, that's fine. Cool. I'm happy with that. It's a fun little mission. You wouldn't have to set out any objectives. You could just jump in. Now we are setting it up in a slightly different way. But we're doing diagonal deployments. Again, we're doing 125 points. Everything else I'm just going to assume is the same. Find the relic. That is the name of the mission. I probably should have said that first. Each model can search one piece of terrain in each movement phase. Instead of moving, if they are within 1 inch of that terrain and not within 1 inch of an enemy model. When a model makes a search, roll a d6. If the result is a 6, that model has found the relic. Do not use this rule anymore. Otherwise, mark the terrain to show that it has been searched. A piece of terrain cannot be searched twice. If there is only one piece of terrain that has not been searched and the relic has not been found, the first model to search it will find the relic. Okay? Giving us this. So, to get to any of the pieces of terrain, you either have to go around the walls here, or hop up them. So again, just an interesting little nuance that having models with fly will really help in searching on your first turn here. And it doesn't say each model can search one piece of terrain in each movement phase instead of moving. Oh, okay, so you'd reach it, and then in the next turn, instead of moving, you would search. So you could search 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of terrain on turn 2, as would your opponent. You'll probably find it turn 2. Find the relic. There you go. Carrying the relic. A model that finds the relic carries it from that point. If that model was taken out of action by a model's attack in the fight phase, the model that made the attack now carries the relic. If it is taken out of action in any other way, place an objective marker where it was standing. The first model to make any sort of move that touches the objective marker carries the relic. Remove the objective marker when this happens. Victory conditions at the end of the battle. The controlled player of the model that is carrying the relic wins. All other players lose. Okay. I think that's quite fun. I think that would be a fun mission to play. I definitely hope we will get to try it out. Certainly, this Wednesday coming up, I'm going to be taking this. I'm going to be recording some games on it. We're going to see how it goes. Narrative play mission. Hall of Statues. You're going to set it up like that. Deploying either side. What are these? Sudden charge for 1 CP. Attack a tactic. Use this tactic after setting up a model on the battlefield using the ambush rule. So apparently I should have read the ambush rule first, but let's power through. Let's power through. You can immediately declare that the model, that model will attempt to charge, but when you make a charge roll, you only roll 1d6. It's 2d6. Okay, interesting. So I assume once we read that, it's going to tell us that we can do charges, I guess. The statues are alive. Defend a tactic 1 CP. Use this tactic in any shooting phase after the first battle round, when you choose a model to shoot with. Yeah. Until the end of the phase, they can target any statues as if it were an enemy model. If the result of a hit roll made for an attack that targets one of these statues is 5+, and there is at least one model hiding in the terrain, the attacker must immediately set up one of those models as described in the ambush rule, and then you continue to resolve the attack against that model, even if that model is not visible. Okay. The kill teams. 125 points. The battlefield. This one. Scouting phase. Do not use the rules for the scouting phase in this mission. It's odd that a narrative play mission doesn't want you to use the scouting rules. Deployment. Okay, so this is the one where it's going to be interesting. The attacker secretly notes down a hiding place for each model in their kill team. These hiding places must be Imperial statues or fallen statues anywhere on the battlefield that is not in the defender's deployment zone, and the attacker's note should make it clear which piece of terrain is being referred to. Up to 3 models can be set up in hiding in each Imperial statue, and 1 model could be set up in hiding in each fallen statue. If there are not enough hiding places for all the attacker's models, they set up the remainder wholly within their deployment zone. Once the attacker set up all of their models, the defender sets up all of their models wholly within their deployment zone. Okay, so the attacker gets to hide around the map, whereas the defender is all there. And if we look at this, you'll be able to get your models really rather close to the enemy. So, battle length, it's variable battle length. There you go. Ambush. At the end of any movement phase, the attacker can set up any of their models that were set up in hiding within 1 inch of the terrain that they were hiding in, and more than 3 inches from any enemy models. Okay. Escape route. The defender can move any of their models off the battlefield edge labelled escape route. So that's the other end of the board for the defender. Run away. Cool. Kind of like terror tactics. Awfully reminiscent of terror tactics, isn't it? A model that leaves the battlefield this way is not considered to be out of action, but takes no further part in the mission. Victory conditions, which will hopefully tell us why we have an escape route. At the end of the battle, the attacker scores 1 VP for each enemy model that is out of action, and the defender scores 1 VP for each of their models that is not out of action, or 2 VP if that model escaped. Now it makes more sense. The player with the most VP is the winner. Okay, so the attacker there gets 1 VP for every model it kills, the defender gets 1 VP for every model alive, but 2 VP if they got off the other side of the board. This is terror tactics, but with fun, weird statue hiding abilities. All in all, I'd quite like to play it. Okay, and finally we have narrative play mission Defend the Shrine. 125 points. Battlefield is this, obviously. Do not use the scouting phase. Deployment. The players alternate setting up models starting with the defender. If a player this is the standard deployment in that case. Okay. Battle length is variable. Yep. The relic. Now, luckily, we kind of know what that is. If the attacker controls the objective marker at the end of the battle round, remove the objective marker from the battlefield. Remove the objective maker from the battlefield. Well, classic G-dubs. Classic G-dubs. Well done. The reliquary. Reliquary? Oh, I used to know how to say that word. The attacker's models treat the Imperial statue as if it was an enemy model. Interesting. Attacks that target the Imperial statue hit automatically in the fight phase. It has a toughness characteristic of 5, a wounds characteristic of 5, then an invuln save of 4+. It is reduced to 0 wounds. Remove it from the battlefield. So that's the Imperial statue, which is right in the centre of game there. Victory conditions. If at the end of the battle the objective marker and the Imperial statue are on the battlefield, the defender wins. If neither the objective marker nor the Imperial statue are on the battlefield, the attacker wins. Any other result is a draw. Okay, and they are both in the centre. So that is both the Imperial statue and the objective marker. So the attacker gets set up on the left or the right, and the defender deploys entirely within the shrine, well actually within this kind of one in square of the shrine. Okay, nice. Then we get 2 CP, an attacker tactic, demolish the reliquary. Use this tactic when you choose a model to fight in the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, you can reroll wound rolls for that model's attacks that target the Imperial statue. Okay, 2 CP, but it can be your entire team, and the statue's toughness value is 5, so you are probably going to lose a lot of rerolls there, or you're going to fail a lot of wound rolls. So okay, I mean, 2 CP is expensive, is all I'm saying. You might want to house rule that so that you actually start the game with 5 CP. because that's just a more fun game. Or you have defender tactic, Strength of Righteousness 1 CP. Use this tactic when you choose a model to fight in the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, you can add 1 to wound rolls for that model's attacks. So basically, my understanding is, attacker deploys left and the right, defender in the center, and the attacker has to get to the center here, destroy the statue, but I believe they can also just capture the central objective. Yes, so, however, to win, the attacker has to capture the objective marker in the center at the end of any battle round and destroy the statue. However, if they just do one of the others, so if they never actually make it to that objective, they could have shot the statue down, or if they make it to the objective, but, you know, you're all basic guardsmen and you just can't get through the statue's wounds, you will force a draw. Okay, interesting stuff. That one doesn't interest me as much. I really like the idea of where the attacker and defender starts, so I might steal that for another purpose. Now, let's look at tactics cards that won't come. I've already ruined one. Bollocks. Official petition for GW to give slightly larger baggies for the cards there, as I just ruined the ear of a card taking it out. Okay, back of the cards we have a whole load of stuff, and then 2 regular tactics. Let's go over the regular tactics first. So, these are a level 1 comms tactic and level 1 demolitions tactic. Hijack Proclamation 2 CP, comms only. Use this tactic in the morale phase before your opponents take any nerve tests. If there is a comms specialist from your kill team who is not shaken and who is within 1 inch of a piece, also any piece of terrain. Until the end of the phase, your opponents must add 1 to nerve tests for models from their kill teams. That's pretty good. We must be honest in these things. We must be honest. Strategic Demolition 1 CP, level 1 demo tactic. Use this tactic when you choose a demo specialist from your kill team to shoot in the shooting phase. Till the end of the phase, they can target terrain features as if they were enemy models. When they do so, treat those terrain features as having a toughness characteristic of 5 and no save characteristic, and ignore hit roll modifiers. For each wound they cause on a terrain feature in this phase, roll a d6 for each model within 1 inch of that terrain feature. On a roll of a 6, the model rolled for suffers a mortal wound. It's an interesting one. So basically, if you have an entire, enemy team huddling around one ruins wall, this is probably a good bet. It's going to cost you 1 CP, which isn't terrible. But obviously, you're really counting on having a very high shot output weapon, because you're only hitting all of the guys around it on the roll of a 6 for each wound you got through on that piece of terrain. It's a fun idea. It's a fun idea. Now, let's see, what have we got? So we've got a whole bunch of stuff. That should probably be with them. Whoops. Okay, first 2 are little sewer grate things here. Oh, quick note. So far, these little grates and the fact that they are symmetrical has had no mention. Are we going to get mentions here? Let's find out. Burst from the sewer, 1 CP. Use this tactic at the end of the movement phase. Choose a model from your kill team that was set up in reserve and set them up within 1 inch of the sewer grate. See reverse. And more than 5 inches from any enemy models. Okay. We haven't gone over reserve tactics, but I think most of us know what they are at this point. Yeah, it's just kind of an outflank for any of your reserve models, but you can come onto the map at a slightly different point than just the edge of the board. Escape into the sewer. 0 CP. I always like a 0 CP tactic. Nice. If a model for your kill team fails a nerve test within 1 inch of a sewer grate, see reverse, or begins your turn in the movement phase within 1 inch of the sewer grate, see reverse, you can choose for them to hide. If you do, remove them from the battlefield. They are considered to have been taken out of action. Oh, okay. But if you are playing a campaign game, you do not have to make a casualty roll. Next up, improvised shelter. Isn't it a good thing that I just said that thing about that? Because now we can see how stupid I am for daring to say it. Improvised shelter 1 CP. Use this tactic in the shooting phase when a model from your kill team is chosen as the target of an attack. If they are within half an inch I'm just going to guess that is ½ inch. So if they're on that square. Until the end of the phase, they're considered to be obscured to the attacking model and within 1 inch of a piece of terrain that is between them and the attacking model. Okay, so obviously, if the enemy model was here, they are already obscured because you'd be drawing line of sight over this wall. But let's say they're over there and there's a clear line of sight. You could use this for 1 CP, get them obscured and counting as within 1 inch for the injury roll. Under the gaze of heroes, these are the Imperial statues now. 1 CP. Use this tactic at the beginning of the morale phase. Until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from nerve tests taken for Imperial models that are within 3 inches of any Imperial statue. Visions of Victory. I think these are all these now. Okay, let's do the last 2 because they're different. So this is this particular bit of terrain. Impaled 1 CP. Use this tactic when you choose a combat specialist. Use this tactic when you choose a combat specialist from your kill team to fight in the fight phase. If they are within 1 inch of an enemy model that is within 1 inch of a fallen statue with a spear. Specifically that one. Until the end of the phase, if you would make an injury roll for the enemy model caused by an attack made by the specialist, add 1 to the roll. For 1 CP, I don't think it's worth it. But it's there, I guess. I mean, you have to pick that when you choose the combat specialist. You don't know if you're even hitting or wounding or getting through their armor yet. And it affects the injury roll by +1. I mean, you know. And now we have Perfect Arc for 1 CP. Here we are talking about the walls. The walls. Use this tactic when you choose a model standing on one side of the shrine wall to shoot in the shooting phase, and they target 1 or more models that are on the other side of the shrine wall. Till the end of the phase, you can add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by the attacking models that target those models. So, that's good, obviously. You are effectively removing the fact that this wall gives you a penalty. Unless it says something like if you're within base contact of the wall, you don't get that penalty. Let's have a quick reread. No. So Perfect Arc, they're just removing the -1 that the wall would give you anyway. Now we have 4. They are all 3 of these pieces. Let's do it. 1 CP, Visions of Victoire. Or Visions of Victory if I'm not being a knob. Use this tactic at the beginning of the morale phase. Until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from nerve tests taken from models, other than Imperial models, that are within 3 inches of any fallen statue. Okay. Loose Rubble, 0 CP. You know I'm a fan of 0 CP tactics. Let's see what it is. Use this tactic at the beginning of the movement phase. Until the end of the phase, subtract 2 inches from the move characteristic of any model that would move onto a fallen statue. See reverse. This tactic costs no CP and does not trigger any abilities that allow you to gain CP. Well, I think we're going to have a serious debate there. So, would move on to them, so you have to want to move on top of these? And then you're at -2 inch in your move characteristic. Okay, I mean, yeah, fine, cool. It's not going to have much effect on the game, but it's there. And it's 0 CP, so I don't really care. Trapped Rubble, 1 CP. Use this tactic when an enemy model moves within 1 inch of a fallen statue, see reverse, or begins their move within 1 inch of one unless they remain stationary. Roll a d6 for that model. On a roll of a 5+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. Models that can fly are not affected unless they begin or end their move. Okay. So that's cool because it's on a 5+, as opposed to, for example, Dangerous Terrain is on a 6+. Actually, it's on the roll of a 1. But, you know, you only have a 1 or a 6, whereas that's a 5 up, so... Salvage Relics, 1 CP. This is a level 1 Zealot tactic. Cool. Use this tactic at the end of the battle round. Choose a Zealot specialist from your kill team that is not shaken and that is within 1 inch of a fallen statue, see reverse. Roll a d6. On a 4+, that specialist gains an experience point. You can only use this tactic once per mission. Okay. So obviously that's just going to give you a CP. I mean, an experience point. Which is cool, I guess, if the campaign wasn't so broken and you kind of don't want to level your guys up. Well, okay, everyone. There you have it. This has been my unboxing of Sector Sanctoris. So the question is, was this worth the price? Okay, so let's start with the kill zone map itself. I think it's a novel idea. I think it's pretty cool. I think that the idea of the walls blocking line of sight works well if this is the only kill zone you buy. I think if this is the only kill zone you have, it's a cool idea. And obviously you have the flip side so you can play it normally as well. This obviously wouldn't be my recommended go-to kill zone though. So logically you would already have another kill zone, so you'd have more terrain. And then because you have the walls, well, I feel like you don't need any more terrain. However, I do think that the terrain you get is actually really good. So it provides you with a few more ruins, which is fine. The statues look cool, but mainly I think that the scatter terrain is top tier scatter terrain. And I think that if you were lucky enough to get the starter box for Kill Team, the ruins you have in that and the buildings there, plus this scatter terrain, and obviously the rest of the terrain in here, but specifically the scatter terrain, you have a perfect board and you never need more terrain. I genuinely think that. I think the amount of terrain you got in the starter set was brilliant, and this here adds scatter to the board, which is exactly what that terrain set lacks. Now, if you manage to get the starter set and you're going to pick up one of the elite boxes anyway, which means you get this scatter terrain, I'd probably say don't bother picking this up. You probably don't need it. However, as it stands, I think this has inspired me. I've recently managed to play on the default terrain that you get with the starter set, the ruins in that, and it was really good fun. Looked so thematic with it all painted up, and I really enjoyed it. And so what I'm actually going to do is I've been inspired to go and build and paint my own Kill Team starter set terrain, and I'm going to paint this terrain, and I think that's my terrain days done. I don't think I need any more. So this is the perfect addition of terrain. That's what I'm going to say. However, if you didn't get the Kill Team starter set, does this add anything for you? Well, yes. This is just good terrain. So you're getting ruins, you're getting cool statues, which, if you're just looking to have terrain as opposed to a statue, lie it down. That's a barricade. That's great. And of course you get the scatter. Okay, so obviously I'm really biased because I think the scatter terrain in this looks cool. And so that's making me say, oh yeah, this is a really good bit of kit. However, objectively, you're not getting as much terrain as you have in the past. For example, the Killzone Mechanicus, Killzone Munitorum, you were getting more terrain, just objectively. You had more line of sight blocking, etc., etc. And talking of line of sight blocking, okay, yes, the statues in this block line of sight, but only for a very small amount. Like, not a huge, only at really odd specific angles. They're not that thick, these statues. I'm not quite sure what to recommend, if I'm honest. I can only tell you, I think the terrain looks cool. However, if I already had the starter set terrain and I was buying an elite terrain, I wouldn't buy this. Because I don't think you really need the extra ruin walls and the statues. I think the scatter's all you need. With all of that said, I'm glad I've bought it. I think this works for me. As I said, it's inspired me to go and make my own terrain, and that's what I'll be playing on, from then on once I've built it myself. And yeah, there you go. Make your own minds up. Oh, I also thought the missions were cool. I do want to play the missions. Those will be played. There you go. Alright, well, I've rambled long enough at the end here. So this has been Glass Half Dead, reviewing Sector Sanctoris, the latest Killzone. Oh, I suppose the final word is, if you want a Killzone, buy this Killzone, because we now know they go out of stock pretty quickly, and they're not going to hang around for long. And this is a good way to get the terrain that you get in here. So, okay, apparently I've made my decision. You should buy it. Good stuff. Anyway, Glass Half Dead, being a dirty corporate GW shill, telling you to buy this, and don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell, or whatever other social media thing that you're supposed to do for me to officially be a shill. And that's me done. Have a great day. See you during the week as I go over all of the Kill Team Elite's book.